Did you know that one single day changed the course of Italian history forever? On the 25th of July 1943, a dictator who had ruled the Kingdom of Italy for more than 2 decades walked into a meeting with his king, expecting business as usual. Just minutes later, he was under arrest, his regime had collapsed, and the nation stood on the brink of civil war. But how did Benito Mussolini, once the most powerful man in Italy, lose everything in a single afternoon? Was it a military defeat, a political betrayal, or a desperate attempt by the king to save the monarchy? In this video, we'll uncover the dramatic events that led to the fall of the fascist Kingdom of Italy, the secret plotting behind the scenes, and why the 25th of July remains one of the most important dates in modern Italian history. 1922. This was a difficult time for the Kingdom of Italy. The effects of the unifying of Italy, Risorgimento, had been mixed, resulted in economic hardship, particularly in the south, and social problems, which led to huge numbers of Italians emigrating abroad. There were recriminations over the Treaty of Versailles and how Italy's role was rewarded at the end of World War I, and this led to anger against its former allies, France, United Kingdom, Russia, and America. Capitalizing on post-war political chaos, strikes, and economic depression, Benito Mussolini rose to prime minister after his intimidating march on Rome in 1922. By 1925, he was an undisputed fascist dictator of the Kingdom of Italy and supported by King Victor Emmanuel III, who feared a socialist revolt. Mussolini founded fascism. He oversaw a totalitarian fascist dictatorship from 1925 until 1943. He believed the Italian state was absolute and people were there to serve the nation only. Mussolini also projected himself as a cult of personality, il duce. His policy of extreme nationalism and imperialism tried unsuccessfully to expand Italy's territories into Africa. He ruthlessly suppressed dissent and outlawed opposition parties, and he imposed severe censorship. But did he do anything positive? Well, he negotiated the Lateran Treaty with the Pope to resolve the Roman question, and this compensated the Vatican for its loss of the Papal States. He reclaimed land and cleared malaria from areas near Rome. He began developing motorways and invested heavily in railways. Responding to poverty and heavy emigration, he expanded the welfare state, pensions, paid holidays, unemployment benefits, and some healthcare services. He also suppressed the mafia for a decade, particularly in Sicily, but this was partly also settling scores. Still angry with the Allies after World War I and the Treaty of Versailles, Mussolini allied with Adolf Hitler and joined World War II in 1940. This was also opportunism. He wanted imperial expansion, and he believed Germany would complete a rapid military victory across Europe as France capitulated. Mussolini wanted to limit the German expansion, but also benefit from it. This was still a risky approach. Mussolini dismissed the warnings from his own generals, who insisted that the Italian military was unprepared for a long military campaign. Fast forward to early 1943. Italy's military position was quickly imploding. Italian and German forces were driven out of Egypt in October 1942. Operation Torch caused Libya to fall in January 1943. On the Eastern Front, the Italian army was defeated at the Battle of Stalingrad, incurring huge losses in men and materials. Sustained Allied aerial bombing of Italy were taking their toll on its people and its industrial capacity. Discontent with Mussolini led to mass labour strikes in the industrial north in March 1943, in Turin and Milan. Mussolini's health deteriorated as Italy suffered successive defeats and he had no means to control the workers' strikes. Mussolini now feared the Allied armies massing in North Africa would now attack Italy. German soldiers were already stationed in Italy, but their numbers steadily increased in early 1943. As the Allies took control of Sicily with Operation Husky, which began on the 10th of July 1943, this caused the Germans to dispatch even more elite troops to bolster Italy's defence on the mainland. This polarised public opinion against Mussolini. The Allies were now seen by some as liberators. Hitler travelled to Italy to meet Mussolini between the 19th and the 21st of July 1943 in a place north of Venice known as the Feltre meeting. Mussolini wanted to exit the Axis alliance and for Italy to exit the war. Hitler had lost faith in the Italians and was preparing to occupy northern and central Italy. Mussolini complained of his health during the meeting and explained he was unable to continue the talks. So, a 3-day summit ended in under 4 hours. It was announced that 200 Allied aircraft bombed Rome, and as Mussolini flew over Rome, he saw the city burn and realised Italy's war was lost, but Italy remained part of the Pact of Steel with Nazi Germany, but others were already planning for a change. The fall of the fascist regime in the Kingdom of Italy, known as 25 Luglio, was plotted by Dino Grandi, a politician, and King Victor Emmanuel III. On the 22nd of July 1943, Mussolini met King Victor Emmanuel III. They discussed the options available and recognised the risk that Germany might annex territory. They agreed to withdraw Italy from both the war and the Axis alliance. For now, the king asked Mussolini to resign from power, otherwise this could pose a problem for any future negotiations. Grandi visited Mussolini privately in advance and entreated him to resign. On the 24th of July, the Grand Council sat behind closed doors, and they concluded in the early hours of July the 25th. Prominent government figures turned against Mussolini, including Dino Grandi and Galeazzo Ciano. Grandi presented a resolution asking the king to retake back his full constitutional and military powers, effectively a vote of no confidence in Mussolini. The Grand Council passed the advisory vote by a margin of 19-8. On the morning of the 25th of July, Mussolini arrived at Villa Savoia and was informed by King Victor Emmanuel III that Marshal Pietro Badoglio had replaced him as Prime Minister. 200 carabinieri were gathered outside to escort Mussolini. King Victor Emmanuel III had ordered that Mussolini was to be quietly arrested. The carabinieri reassured Mussolini, sitting in an Italian Red Cross ambulance with a destination unknown, that they were there for his protection. So ended nearly 21 years of fascist rule in the Kingdom of Italy on the 25th of July 1943. News of Mussolini's downfall was announced on the radio. Many people rejoiced, hoping this was the end of the war. King Victor Emmanuel III was more interested in the survival of the Italian monarchy, having supported a fascist dictatorship in the Kingdom of Italy. Marshal Pietro Badoglio quickly confirmed Italy would continue to fight alongside Germany, as his diplomats were beginning to quietly meet representatives of the Allied governments. Badoglio soon dissolved the fascist party, while Mussolini was moved around, ending up at Campo Imperatore, a mountain resort in Abruzzo. By September 1943, Badoglio agreed to an armistice between Italy and the Allied armed forces, which was announced on the 8th of September, and this again threw Italy into chaos. German troops invoked Operation Axa to seize control of Rome, Italy, and liberated Mussolini. Badoglio and the king fled to Puglia and the protection of the Allies, preferring to save themselves rather than govern Italy and its people. Badoglio agreed to a political truce with the predominantly left-wing partisans to force the exit of the Nazis from Italy. A civil war ensued. Italian troops had no orders, as Italy lurched into disarray. Some Italian troops joined the Allies to fight the Germans, some deserted, some surrendered, and some fought on with the Germans. Badoglio declared war on Germany on the 13th of October, 1943. So what is the legacy of 25th of July 1943? This was the overthrow of Benito Mussolini and the end of 21 years of totalitarian fascist rule in the Kingdom of Italy. This led to Nazi Germany occupying northern and central Italy, sparking a civil war, but that's another story. Click here to get even closer to Italy and Sicily.